Hi, I'm Kat, marketer turned brand storyteller.
And I'm Candice, educator turned entrepreneur.
And you're listening to
Not Nice, Clever.
We're two introverts who speak on stages around the country and work with top personal brands who also unapologetically require 24 to 48 hours of recovery time on the couch in our favorite sweats. All Netflix and no chill.
And to be clear, we're not quiet or nice. Together, we're redefining what it means to be an introvert who means business. It's time to show up and show off. Are you in?
On today's episode of Not Nice Clever, we have the incredible guest, Theoni Rapo, aka Not Your Daddy's Lender, joining us today. And she is going to be sharing her journey from how she went to teaching her fellow sorority sisters financial advice on how to get a home to blowing up on TikTok and being able to build a business in a way that supports her as a growing lender, as a mother, as a wife, and the ways in which she wants to give back to the next generation in contributing toward financial literacy. So, without further ado, Theoni. All right. Well, we are super lucky here at Not Nice Clever today because this is Theoni's second stop in her podcast tour of 2024. So if you wanted that spot, sorry, we took it at Not Nice Clever, but you can be the third, the fourth, or the fifth if you would like and reach out to her after. But I'm so excited that Candice and I get to introduce you to our Clever crew here today. You have been such an incredible, supportive, exciting, motivational force in our lives, and we've probably only spent the equivalent of 90 minutes together in real life. And actually, I would love for us to start just the story of how we met, right? I don't think people are not going to believe it. They're going to be like, but does social really work? We're like, yes, it brings you friends and people. Trust us. Candice, do you want to actually start with this? Because this is funny.
Yes, totally. So let me tell you the story of how we met Theoni. I was in Las Vegas with Kat at Forward in July, and Brittany, who works with Theoni, sent me a DM. I have never met Brittany before. I have never spoken to Brittany before ever in life. And she sent me the nicest DM that was like, I know you're in Las Vegas and I've been following you and I know you're busy, but if you have a chance, I'd love to grab lunch tomorrow or a drink. And of course, I got that message and I read it to Kat and we're like, yeah, we're down. Let's do it tomorrow. So I sent a message. Hey, absolutely. Let's have lunch tomorrow. And we scheduled a time. And then we were at lunch with multiple people, including Theoni. And we recorded content while at lunch with these strangers in air quotes because Brittany sent me a DM. And that's how relationships are built. Now, it's been, 6 months or longer, and we're friends and we DM each other regularly. And Kat just had lunch with Theoni last week. And so that's how you build relationships online. It's much like you build relationships in person. You say, hey, you seem cool. Want to grab a drink?
Right,
Yes.
Theoni? It was
let's be friends.
So much fun.
I remember, you guys don't know this, so this is the first time that this is coming out, but on the other side of that, Britt was so scared to send that DM. I remember we were sitting at lunch or
Really?
I think we were at dinner the night before and she had it all typed up and she was like, can you just look at it again? Is it weird? She was like, can you just look at it? Is she going to read this and think I'm weird? And I was like, I hope she does because then she'll say yes. Who's this weirdo messaging me? And so I think either she closed her eyes and sent it or I sent it for her that level of
hilarious.
And now here we are all because of her.
And now here we are.
Yes.
I love that. And that's the thing that I love about social media. It's that people are closer than you think.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, we like to put walls up between ourselves and the people we watch online. But ultimately, everyone's just a human being. And of course, Kat and I felt flattered that she would invite us. And so there you go. Boom. Here we are.
That was such a fun little lunch too.
It was.
And we did get some awesome content.
Yeah, we should repost our videos that we recorded that day because I think they were actually really good.
I mean, in-person energy.
And they were off the cuff.
That's the best content.
Right? We didn't give either of us time to overthink it. We just spoke from the heart, what needed to be said, which is that's the business right there.
There you go.
Yep. And I think we can definitely talk about that at some point here, but the having your elevator pitch content, because I know that I asked you guys some questions about things that I wanted you to say that I've heard from other content pieces. And then having the I don't know what you're going to ask me, but let's see what my mind picks up and says after you ask me. So it is very different levels.
Yeah. And speaking of content, so I think this is something that's still like Candace and I work with people from all walks of life, like all different generations, backgrounds, largely in real estate, but we do work outside of that industry as well. Can you share for us how you got started in content? Like you now have built out this incredible backend to manage everything that content has been doing to feed your business. But I think to Candace's earlier point, a lot of people think that where we are in our journeys is so out of reach. It's so unrelatable. So can you take us to just like how it started for you and how it supported you in your business? I'd love to hear that.
Yes. So in 2019, I had just graduated college and I had been doing the same job all throughout sophomore year to like when I graduated college. And so it actually was from like frustration of my generation not understanding how to buy a house. And when I wasn't in college anymore, I didn't have the ability to like literally in person, like in my sorority meetings, I made everybody pull out their computers and apply for a credit card because I could do that. I was in person and I was crazy. But,
Right.
it's something that you need to build so you can buy a house one day. So it was from frustration that I didn't have that ability anymore to be in person with anyone. So the only way I could do that and continue to educate these people was social. So it started with just wanting to truly teach people like what it meant to buy a house so that they could be ready for it. And from that, it just became really fun and much more fun to me than cold calling or taking realtors out that were like 55 years old that I had nothing in common with, but they were just
No
doing the
vibes.
numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it just started becoming like the thing. And then I didn't probably see business from it though. I'll be totally honest, for maybe a year. And at the time I used TikTok because I liked their editing way more than Instagram's. So I was posting on TikTok so it would save to my camera roll. And so I was creating this TikTok profile, not knowing that I was really doing that until one viral video hit. And then I was like, holy shit, people are on this app. Like, this is crazy. I don't know that.
There are people. Yeah.
And they're listening. So yeah,
What year was that, Theoni, that you started?
2019 that I got like really heavy into it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it took you a year. I think I want everybody to listen to that, like, because we see so many people give up or get frustrated or discouraged. And we get it. Like, if you are putting things out there and you're not receiving anything back, it doesn't feel good as a human on the other side of the screen. But what would you say kind of kept you motivated? Because I'm impressed. Like, fresh out of college, like you didn't go to school for marketing or digital media at all, did you? What did you actually go to school
No,
for?
business and econ. And I wrote my thesis
Okay.
about the evolution of the mortgage industry. Like, I was a nerd.
I love it. You still are.
I
That's so
Still
love
cool
are.
that.
though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like I'm as much of a nerd that I am, I'm also somebody who is really disruptive as just anything I do, I want to disrupt it. Like I don't like to do the way that things have always been done. And I could have picked any field of work, I feel like, and wanted to disrupt it. So because there were people being like, this is the tried and true way to make X amount of money as a loan officer. And I hated that way. I was like, well, social has to work for me. Like it was something like that I
Yeah.
wanted to prove. And so for me, it was, I had fun with it. It was a lot more fun for me to do that. Were my videos cringy and terrible? Yes, for a long time, for
Mhm.
months. Like I look back at them and they are awful, but I got it over with. And then like now I can finally get to a point where I can say like this does work because it has worked and it took just like grit because I wanted to show people there's an alternative way.
Here's what I love about it. I know a lot of people in your industry build their business based on cold calling, and there's nothing wrong with that. And if that's your jam, please, by all means. However, what I will say is that every day is day one when you're cold calling. Obviously, your expertise grows and maybe you close a little bit more because of that. But every day is day one. And for you, it's not the same because you have a catalog of content that's working for you over and over and over again. And the ROI on that is definitely not the same as cold calling, where the past record of you cold calling doesn't matter anymore. Every day's a new day.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have years worth of content. People can binge and build that relationship with you over and over
Yeah.
again. And there's power in
Yeah.
that.
And it's like keeping a keeping your database engaged while not having to like truly engage too much, if that makes sense. And then if you do add things like having a back end marketing, things like that, that just, I mean, they're just sticky forever. Yeah,
Amplifies.
but you don't have to.
Yep.
And that's like the coolest part.
And we love that for introverts because we don't have the energy
We
to
don't. We love
have
people,
one-on-one
but
conversations with thousands of
it's
people
too
every day.
much.
But your video is in front of thousands of people every day,
Yeah.
or tens of thousands or millions,
Millions.
who knows?
Yeah. I mean, and it's refreshing to know like it's crazy to get to a point where people then listen to you because you're like, whoa. Like people are, because the content I used to make was a lot of voiceovers in the beginning. And so I've now found my voice. So we can like talk about that. I'm sure you guys have like so many tips and tricks
Oh,
on that.
I have questions on that for you. Yes, most definitely.
But in the beginning, it felt comfortable for me to, and like TikTok was Gen Z's app. So to just go on there and like prop your phone up and talk like we see TikTok videos now, that was weird, you know? And so I was like, I'm not going to be weird. Like I'm already weird enough talking about mortgages on here. Like I'm not going to be extra weird. So I made the viral voiceover stuff funny and relatable to mortgages until I finally like my first viral TikTok was me propping my phone up with the worst quality in the world in like a turtleneck in the middle of January. I looked awful. And it was just me being so frustrated and being like, you need W 2s and pay stubs and have like a desktop folder on your computer and just have these things. And that's when I was like, wait, people want to hear my voice. And that's when I started to like figure
Mhm.
that out for myself. And now I rarely do voiceovers and only post my voice.
Mhm. I think this is something that we get asked a lot. Is it a requirement when you are trying to build your brand, amplify, grow your reach, all of that? Do you have to have your face in everything? And Candace and my recommendation is always yes. But we also recognize that everybody starts with a different skill level and a different experience level and comfort level. And I think doing voiceovers is such an easy, faceless, but still powerful way to build your brand because people listening to this podcast right now with their AirPods in their ears or on their computer while they're working or while they're cleaning or working out at the gym, they're hearing my voice, which they know, they're hearing Candace's, and then they're hearing yours, and they're all distinct and special and memorable.
I have a question. When you say voiceover, though, are you talking about the trends where it's like literally not your voice?
Yeah, where it's
Or you're
literally not
talking
my
about
voice.
Oh, not your
Yeah.
voice.
okay,
Okay.
so she's talking about like just using a trend and applying it to mortgage.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't even think about that. So I like that point too, Kat.
Yeah.
There we go. So, yes,
Yeah.
maybe that's even the step before your own original audio of your voiceover.
Yes.
Trending audio. Okay, cool. Some sort of audio. And then your own voiceover audio. And then eventually you'll be like Theoni, who's just capturing B roll as you're like chasing your boy around your home and like making sure he gets to bed on time. But you can build up to it, right? It's a journey.
Yeah. And I think it's once you find that niche, it becomes fun. And that's what I tell people, just like anything, like if cold calling, door knocking, whatever, if it's not fun for you, it's not fun for the person on the other end. So, like, once it stops being fun, the coolest thing about content is you're allowed to change it. Like, you're allowed to do different shit.
Mhm.
And so, I think like
Yep.
that's really important. It just starts to become fun once you find that like niche you like. And it can be fun for like 2 months and then you can hate it and then go back to whatever else.
I think people are afraid to commit to content because they think that they have to be the same person today and in 5 years, and they think maybe that makes them inauthentic if they change their mind, if they went in a different direction, and the actual in reality, changing your mind and going in a different direction is what every human does at multiple times that's life, right? And so taking people along the journey of life, even if that means you're changing your audience or your niche or you are changing the style of your content or the way you look or whatever, it's all just part of life and you just continue on. So you're not married to a specific way of doing things
Right.
forever. And I think that's oddly one thing that holds people back.
Yeah. And I think it's because you have to be consistent. And if you're not consistent, then it does feel like, holy shit, I haven't showed up on Instagram in 6 months. Like now I have a kid, you maybe got married, like maybe you moved to a different place. And then, yes, now there is a big shock to your audience because you haven't brought them along anywhere. So, like, it probably does feel
Mhm.
weird because you haven't been consistent enough to show the journey of how you got to where you are now and then to show the journey of where you're going to next.
Mhm. We
Yep.
were right before hopping on and recording this episode, Candice and I went live on Instagram for our weekly live. And I was like, hey, y'all, the background's blurred out. I'm in my new apartment. So the lighting looks different, but I don't want to show you the chaos. And then I ended up showing a little bit of it. And I'm like, okay, back to our faces now. And one of our friends and clients, Ramita, was like, hey, I love the difference in location. It's cool to see wherever you're going to be joining from. That's as much a part of our brand and being authentic and like not making everything picture perfect all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true. And you have content for like collages. Like, I don't know if you guys saw,
Right.
but my 26th birthday or my 27th, Jesus, was last week. And I was able to make like a collage of over the years of how like everything has changed for me because I just created the content. And I never thought about it back then, but I was like, whoa, people have seen this journey from grad Theoni to beach living Theoni all these years, and that's like super cool. So you have content too to make those types of videos.
And you're just building even more trust with your audience because they see that what you're implementing is working in your own life, and you have evidence over and over again that it's helping others too.
Yeah, absolutely.
People
It's
love
amazing.
seeing the receipts.
Exactly. Yes, the proof in the pudding.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I forgot who said it earlier, but that you were saying about just like I don't even remember, but it reminded me of like a niche and or talking to different audience and like changing. I was for a long, long time the all-inclusive loan officer that would help anybody buy a house.
Oh, I threw up in my mouth a little bit.
We've been there. I was
Sorry.
the
Okay.
yes person when I had my creative agency. Oh, you need that? Cool. We don't actually offer it, but I'll figure out how to do it.
Oh, also I've been guilty of that. So full disclosure, I've also been guilty of that.
That's what's going to happen when people create content because you feel like you have to, especially people in real estate and, lending, because we're just like subject to saying yes and figuring it out. But like the coolest part about social is now I can be so picky with who I'm targeting. And that's part of my
It's our favorite thing.
We
and
love
it is
standards.
it
We
sounds
love
crazy.
boundaries.
I love it. And people think I'm nuts for being like, yeah, I don't accept credit scores under 620. And they're like, how could you? And I'm like, there's another loan officer out there that does and does a really great job. And they're going to do an awesome job taking care of them.
They're better positioned to do that than I am right now because I'm irritated.
Right. Why is your credit score 620?
You should have contacted me way earlier because you should have been listening to this content so your credit score would be better.
And been at my sorority or a fellow fraternity attending those seminars that I was hosting back in 2019. Sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, look, I'm making content that tells you how to get your credit score up. Do that and then come to me.
Right.
Boom.
Pre-qualify them.
You're out there building your personal brand and you also have a team relying on you. But if your people don't know how to fish for themselves, the burden of new business always falls on you. Ouch. No thanks.
The opportunity we see, teach your team how to generate their own business.
The result, more time and energy back in your day so you can scale sans burnout.
Amplify by Not Nice Clever is the ace up your sleeve, a hands-on workshop full of replicable frameworks and actionable strategies that your team can put in place right away.
Your job? Sit back and let us work our magic.
Even CEOs need help sometimes. We've got you. Head to our show notes to get the deets. #outsourced. So you've mentioned grit, which I love that word. I think grit has become underrated in younger generations. And I love that you appreciate that and have embodied that. You mentioned fun. What would you say are some other kind of key ingredients to being successful, like in lending, in real estate, in whatever, just as a human in business? Like your husband is also in the marketing space. And so like, have you seen overlap with like his skills and what has contributed to his success and yours together? Like what are some other key ingredients have you found to be helpful?
The biggest thing is honestly time management / like learning when to take breaks. And I say that because anybody who's in entrepreneurship, like in our industry or not, anything that's creative, the creative block is so real. And it's hard to just figure out how to manage that. And when you're in the zone, it's hard to it's hard to keep it for as long as you can until you like have a break and then you fall back into it. So I think like for me and him, and he owns a couple different things. He has like a restaurant with his mom, and he has a car detailing like he has all these different things, and then the marketing is kind of like the umbrella. So for him, his creative outlet sometimes is like detailing a car, where he's like, I'm going to go do something that
Mhm.
isn't related to anything so that I can come back and be like, whoa, I just had this awesome creative.
Fresh.
Yes. And I think for me, it's hard because with loans, that is creative in its own nature. And then you go on social media, and that's a different type of creative. So for me, it's like hanging out with my kid and building blocks for like 15 minutes, because I'm like, I need to do
Mhm.
something that is so dumbed down. So I don't know if there's like a specific word for that, but time management and like taking breaks is where I feel like you have to,
Mm-hmm.
in order to be able to do these next level things and create at the levels that you need to in order to see any success in any business you do.
I think that people are afraid of investing their time in that way because they don't see it as an investment. They see it as not
Mhm.
working.
Yeah.
And something that Dom and I are always talking about is like being intentional about giving ourselves opportunities even throughout the day of taking a step back. And for me, like I love to have time to be in the kitchen and cook something or bake something. Like I will be in the zone, nothing else. I'm not thinking about that project or are we struggling with this or is that invoice going to clear? Like I'm not thinking about any of that stuff. I'm just going to be in the zone and do my thing. And then I can come out like refreshed or just a different type of vibe that I'm approaching my work with, more creativity. And then there's other times where we take big intentional breaks. Like we are definitely taking a 7-day trip this spring, right? Like just taking a big block and saying like no matter what, we're taking this time off. And I think being able to do both a little bit in your day here and there, whatever that means for you, taking a walk with your dog, I don't care what it is, reading a book, and then also those bigger blocks.
Yeah, I totally agree. And what one thing I'll say is like I've been doing this the past 2 or 3 weeks. My phone and my relationship with my phone has like I've had to acknowledge it finally after all these years to be like, we are dating and it is unhealthy at this point because I like you more than you like me. And like this isn't good. So I have intentionally now I will charge my phone in the bathroom. So when I wake up, that is not the first thing I reach. And like I don't start my day with my phone until everything else is is like all good inside, and I get to dictate the day, and then I'll let the world come into my mornings, and then it's been amazing.
I love that so much. Candice knows this. Like, that's a key part of my morning routine. I don't look at my phone for the first hour. And sometimes, if I wake up after Will does, he'll be on what he calls like the Shortex, YouTube Shorts, and he'll just be scrolling. And if I hear something from that, I'll get up and I'll get out of bed because and he'll be like, "Where are you going?" I'll be like, "Well, I don't want to hear that right now." So I totally find that you're doing it, but I'm going to remove myself from the situation and go make some coffee, go walk Piper. And it's now gotten to the point where he's not started his day with his phone more too, just because he's noticed the positive effect it has on me. I tell
Mhm.
myself I have to be conscious for at least an hour before I, even if just to look at my calendar, right? Because like calendar are different than notifications, but you're already thinking about all those meetings, all the like this, maybe invites have changed and you're like, oh no, and then you feel reactive. And so I think that's a huge ingredient for success. I love that you do it. I too had to acknowledge, awareness is the first step, admitting is the first step. It was about 6 months ago. I made a strong commitment to not look at my phone for the first hour of the day.
So I'm not great at it yet. Like it's definitely not perfect for me, but Dom will even notice when I start my day reading versus when I start my day on my phone. He says that I'm like in a better mood. And the thing that sometimes holds me back is I feel guilty because a lot of, Serhant work is on the East Coast. So they're already 3 hours into their workday before I've even, got out of bed. And then and then in addition to that, my team often is starting work earlier than me. And so they'll be sending me messages. So I wake up to 17 problems that I have to solve. Like as soon as I wake up, or that's how I used to feel. And now I'm just like, well, my workday starts at 10 typically,
Mhm.
and I'm just going to deal with it at 10. And before 10, I'm going to go to the gym or take a walk or do whatever I need to do, read a book. make breakfast. Who knows? Whatever. I'm going to do all the things I want first, and then I will deal with the 17 fires I need to put out.
Yeah. And I think that like if you're in a position like that, because that was me for a while too. I woke up and I worked with a lot of people who were on different time zones. So I'd get texts overnight. So then for a little bit, I was like, okay, well, if it's not the morning routine, then maybe at least it's the night. Or like at some
Mm-hmm.
point, it's the break that I take away from my phone physically where I am not attached to it. So like for you, maybe Candice, it's the night routine so that you know in the morning I did my night routine at least. Like I'll wake up refreshed and better because I took this time at night.
Yeah.
I think just doing it at any time is hard.
At all, right? Yeah, it
Yeah.
reminds me when we had Trisha Lee Riley on the podcast, Theoni, I think you would like her. You can like scroll. I'll send you the episode we did with her because she took us to church on that episode. And the one thing she said, well, she's adamant about a lot of things in her business, which we admire. But the one thing that I remember that's relevant now is where she reminds everybody you're never fully on for your clients, for your spouse, for your children, if you're never fully off at some point. You're always just like half there, half not there. And that doesn't feel good for anybody. And so make that commitment. If you say you want to be fully on, cool, you need to be fully off. Like
Mhm.
very rarely an in between in this type of situation when it comes to boundaries and maintaining your energy and your focus.
Yeah. Have you guys heard of the 4-hour work sprint?
No.
Maybe? No, but tell us.
I was listening to an Ed Milet podcast a couple weeks ago,
Oh, love
and
Ed.
his host, I love him. His host said that he got to meet his favorite author of all time, and I don't remember who it was, but he flew out to England to visit him, and he was like, "Hey, I want some feedback on my book. Could you give me some?" So he goes, "Here are the time blocks. It's from 12 to 4," and he was like, as you know, somebody who's in sales and in business, like. I knew it was from 12 to 4, but I wasn't expecting a hard cutoff because we were still talking about stuff. And at 4 o'clock, they were in his study in his house, and he was like, "Okay, we're done." And he was like, "What kind of tea would you like?"
Yeah.
And he was like, that was insane. Like, so he brought it back with him and he said, now I only work in 4-hour sprints. I will work and give everything. And like, especially if you're a creative, right?
Yep.
You create for 4 hours and then you're done. And so now I've
I
started to
love
do
that.
that and do it in the office because we don't pay for daycare. We just have a nanny. And so for me, I'm like, if I can do 4-hour sprints, then I can be home by the time he's awake for his nap and
Done.
I miss nothing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Best of
That's
both
awesome.
worlds.
So I was on with a client. I was actually doing a webinar, and this client I had worked with one on one, and he brought me in to talk to his whole group. So there's like 50 people on this webinar. And he brought this up without priming me. But he was like, one thing that I really respect about you, Candice, is you're very serious about your time blocks. When you send me a calendar invite for a 20-minute meeting, it's literally 20 minutes and you hop off the call. And what that does is make me feel urgent about making sure that we talk about the most important things on that call. And it also helped me to respect your time even more and value it even more. And he's also a lender. He said, that's not something that I've put in place with my clients. And what I've really found is that my clients appreciate that and take it seriously. And that's really, really important because you can be on a call with a client for 3 hours of them saying the exact same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're not respecting your time and you're getting nothing done, or you could have got it all done in 20 minutes if they would have just listened to you the first time, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that I knew I was doing it, but I didn't know the impact it was having on my client. And him saying it in front of everyone, like, this made me value her time even more. I took it more seriously. Whatever. I was like, oh, that's powerful. I want to definitely
Keep
continue to
doing
do that
that. Yeah.
because I think early on in my business, I was afraid of that because I thought more time meant more value. But the reality of it is that's not true.
Yeah, it's totally the opposite. Time is like the most expensive asset you have. And I think that it's hard for people to start conversations that way. So, like for me, I have 10-minute time blocks for everybody on my TikToks who wants to schedule a mortgage consult. And I start every call with, okay, and in this 10 minutes that we have together, here's what we're going to
Yep.
go over. And it's been like so life changing because it's not like getting to know you. Like, and it's not that I don't want to, but we have 10 minutes. And so I don't think that that's the most valuable piece of information that I need to know about you right now in these 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. And if we're going to work together, then maybe, there's a different opportunity for us to discuss that.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious, Theoni, because we were talking when we went and got lunch the other day. This is your year of going on a podcast tour and amplifying and expanding. And you went through your year of yes. And now it's like the year of refining and amplifying. So I'm wondering, what types of goals are you setting for yourself this year? How are they different than the goals you've set in the past? I'd love to just see kind of like the difference in the shift. I think it's really important for any of our clever crew listening in to see that journey and that transformation, and also that, as a reminder, guys, you can change your mind at any time for any reason, period.
Yes. So I think for me, I'm going to tap, or I'm going to try, and I'm going to do, because, manifesting girly over here.
Hell yeah.
But I want to tap into more of like the speaking, not so much coaching, but like naturally when you speak, that's kind of what you do. And so the podcast tour for me is huge in that I'm trying to train different type of speaking, and just how to do that better, what my approach is, what my story is, that I would like love people to walk away from being like, hey, I heard so and so speak today and listen to her story, this is amazing. And so I think I'm going to really tap into that. And I think for so long I didn't think anybody cared enough to hear what I had to say. And so I've built the social media following, I've built the system. So it's like this year finally being like, listen, in 2019, everybody wanted me to go out to lunch with 50-year-old realtors, and I didn't. And I suffered because I didn't get their business. But now I get to work with some amazing agents all over the country that I've met through social, and I'm direct to consumer, and it's so much more fun. So I think like now I finally have the ground of which I can stand on to say that. So a big goal of mine is to do that. And then also in person college and high school speaking. And those fill my cup so much. I kind of accidentally did one, like fell into it in January of this year. Yeah, in January. It was a friend of mine. She's teaching a financial literacy course at a private school near me. And she was like, would you
Right up your alley.
maybe? And I was like, absolutely, I would. And I knew it would make me feel good, but I just sat in the car after I talked to those seniors and just like reflected. And I was like, I feel so good like that. And the fact that they engaged and understood what I was saying to like ask questions enough, I was like, whoa. So it's teaching online, like all these things, but then to go back to doing it in person, I forgot how good it felt to do that. So that's a big, big goal of mine this year too.
I love
I
that.
love it.
They I mean, who knows, Theoni, you could be the pioneer for developing curriculum that introduces this into high schools. Like start in Maryland and go from who knows where. Like I said,
Great idea.
you have the social platform, you can walk the walk and talk the talk. And that's so important when it comes to educating people. Candice knows that. Like she's our in-house
Totally.
former
I'm a
educator.
former educator.
Here we go.
Yes. And it's so important that you do that. Like, we don't teach our students anything about financial literacy in high school. Was this a high school class and they were taking financial literacy? That's amazing, because that was not an option when I was younger.
They taught us home ec. That was the extent, and cooking did not take off with me at all.
Also, I am slightly offended that you don't want to have lunch with 50-year-olds, because like I'm approaching 50 really, really soon here.
I
Okay, I
always
just had to
say
mention that.
there are old people and then there's an old mindset. And
Yes, thank
it
you.
was the combination of both of those
Just
things.
double whammy.
Okay.
Yes.
And since I have you on, I'm going to selfishly use this time to get advice.
Ooh.
So I work with a lot of lenders who tell me, Candice, but you don't get it. Like, we're literally not allowed to talk about that. That's why I can't make any videos. That's why I can't show up on social media. Candice, you just don't understand. Like, I can get my license taken away if I talk about that. And I'm over here scrolling and I'm like, Arjun's on here. Theoni's on here. Shivani's on. There's lots of people on here making content about lending. Adrian, I love her, Adrian Williams. But like, so tell me what I'm supposed to say to them in that scenario.
That is such a good one, because I get that too from lenders as well, being like, how do you talk about this stuff? And I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I just do, and I will ask for forgiveness if I have to.
Ask for forgiveness for educating people?
Yeah, like if somebody really comes at me or reports me for teaching people, like, okay, all right, then yeah, sure, like I will then deal with it. But for me, I would say to those people, like, you just don't want success bad enough. Like, I don't take no for an answer.
The value outweighs the risk.
Yeah. Like, I just don't think that I don't think that there's a problem. I mean, don't tell people you're going to give them a 4% interest rate. You know, like there are things you can't say.
Right. Obviously. Yeah. Don't claim things that aren't true. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
But you can give an example. Hey, this is one
Right.
example. This might not be your scenario or situation, but it's something
Exactly.
I
Like
saw.
this
Yeah.
happened to my client. I tell people all the time, it's your story. And when you have been in the business for so long, you have a ton of content. You actually have
Mhm.
a lot more than I do. I just squeeze out all the stories that I have, in the short time I've been doing this in 7, 8 years. But those people, I'm kind of jealous that you have all of these years of stories that you can share to educate people on why and how and what it looks like to work with you. That's amazing.
Mhm.
And I love that you point out the stories, right? And not you did at no point say you know so much about the loans, you know so much about the rates. You said the stories. Like that stories are the best form of content because they're so memorable, they're so feelings based, they're so sticky, and they immediately connect because people can see themselves in the shoes of your client or that story of whatever you're sharing. So I think that's another great reminder. It doesn't have to all be facts. Facts aren't always fun to lead with. Lead with a story.
Yeah. And I think too, that's a skill I've had to learn. I started with like propping my phone up and being like, "Hey guys, I'm Theoni from the bank," and it sucked, right? Like no one scroll, like that sucks. And so I think stories too, you have to get good at it. And now I'm like, okay, I'm going to share a story about my first time home buyer who got into a house. Like what is that beginning? And for me, it's something really controversial or like, again, disruptive. And so I start with, it's really fucking hard to buy a house. And people are like, what? What is she going to talk about? Like, what is going on? And sometimes I say that, like my most recent, I think I got like 1.2 million views on it, started with, guys, what the fuck is going on with interest rates? And people
So she
were
dropped
like,
2 F-bombs before either of us today.
We
There
love
you
that.
go.
Theoni.
There it was.
Gold star, gold medal.
I did it.
So from a branding perspective, I kind of like Theoni from the bank as the new Jenny from the block. I don't know. Just a thought.
Oh,
I don't work at a bank anymore.
that's
Okay,
true.
but there was something there. Just saying.
I kind of felt it,
I
honestly,
could
when I
see
said
that
it.
throwback. Like it could be the bank of education, like the bank of
That's right.
Theoni's stories, like your story vault,
There,
right?
there's something in it.
Yeah.
Something there.
Yeah.
I try to put like not your daddy's in front of everything. So like for me, it's not your daddy's bank or not your
Yeah.
daddy's whatever.
Mhm.
I love that too.
Very much so. So, Theoni, before we get into rapid fire, is there any last thing that we didn't ask you or that you want to share that you want the Clever Crew to know and take away from your amazing conversation with us today?
Yeah, I do. Do you guys have moms in that listen to this too?
Oh, we
Oh
do.
yeah.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think one thing that I'm going to be trying to be more open about this year is that part of things, because I have been kind of like, I held back a lot on showing the sacrifices that it takes to build these things and to be as creative. And so I think if there are moms out there listening, I feel like I want to also remind them that the creative outlet is actually a lot easier than you would think, especially if you have littles at home. You can do it from working from home and it relieves so much stress. Because I remember I felt like I had to work with people before I really tapped into social. And when I had my kid, it would take away time from my kids. So then I started hating those clients and hating those agents and hating those referral partners. And so social has relieved and has brought me this like sense of freedom of picking these people that if I'm going to take the time away from my kid, it's going to be with people who like truly understand the value of that as a mom of littles. So I think like if I can offer anything, I know we didn't talk a lot about the mom life, but this year I'm going to be really intentional on showing that part of it too, because I think nobody really talks about it.
I love that. And I have connections for you too of other people who I think you should collaborate with on talking about
Yes.
that. Yeah. Awesome.
I love that.
All right. we are going to dive into our rapid fire section of the day. This is just fun. It's chill. Like, don't overthink it, okay? Here we go.
Here we go.
What was one of your childhood nicknames?
Oni.
Oni. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Oni. I like it.
And then what is your go-to lazy dinner?
Oh, man. Dino chicken nuggets.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
These
Dino
days,
chicken
yeah.
nuggets. Do you do like a sauce? Is there a ranch? Is there a barbecue? Is there a ketchup or just
Yeah, ketchup.
ketchup? Yeah.
Classic.
I love ketchup too, actually.
Super classic.
Sparkling or still water?
Sparkling.
Okay, she's fancy. What is the best non-curse word, one-word insult?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this one stumps everyone.
It always does. So I love saying that people are morons. I'm like, don't be a moron, right?
And our two other favorites that clients have said are basic and generic.
I'm going to have to go with like boomer. There's just, I don't know. There's something about like,
just doesn't resonate with you. Okay.
That's a boomer. Like, I feel like
that's such a boomer move.
Yeah. I feel like that's the word that comes to mind. That's like on brand too.
Okay.
It is on brand.
Not your daddy's lender. No boomer moves allowed.
No boomer.
Who is your celebrity crush?
I don't like follow celebrities like that. I
know. I don't even know anymore either.
I like unfollowed all of them because it's all fake.
Can you think about like a childhood one, like even if it's a throwback?
Like middle school Theoni. Who did she have a crush on?
Whoever that guy was in Zoe 101.
Oh, okay.
What was his name?
Oh, I didn't
Not
watch
the one that
Zoe
she
101.
ends up with.
This is how we know that I'm not a Gen Z.
Well, for my Gen Zers, if you guys think of his name.
Sean Flynn. Is it Chase Matthews? Is that who it was?
Yes.
Okay.
It was Chase Matthews.
It's somebody named Sean Flynn. He's giving like, I don't even know. This is bad. There's a generational divide here.
She's Googling.
I mean, he's like tall, dark, and handsome.
Not Kat's thing. Okay.
It could work for me.
Well, did you see him in Zoe 101?
I did not. I was off Disney Channel.
Well, I'm saying, like, are you looking?
Oh, hold on.
Are you looking at him in Zoe 101?
Zoe 101.
Zoe
in your
101.
little screen.
That was the era.
The era. Mm-hmm. Oh, he is a cutie. You know what? He looks like the kid from Dune. What's his name? Timothy Chalamet.
That one. Oh, okay. He was just in the Willy Wonka movie, and I really liked it. If you've seen that,
he's got like the dark smolder, dark floppy hair. So I could see that, Theoni. I could see that.
Okay. Can you tell us what was the last thing you bought online?
Diapers.
Diapers. Yeah, there you go. That's on brand too. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm always at the airport and I like to arrive 2 minutes before boarding time, maybe a little bit sweaty, but I make it. Are you a 2 hours before or 2 minutes before type of girly?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. There you go.
No.
See?
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. It's fine. It's fine.
And Kat is obsessed with Marvel and superheroes. If you had a superpower, what would your superpower be?
Either flying or like transporting somewhere really quick because I'm always in the fucking car.
Oh yeah, I do not want to be in the car.
Teleportation. There you go.
Yeah, teleportation.
Okay, so last thing here to wrap up, where can the people find you?
I am Theoni the Lender on all platforms.
On all platforms. See, nice and easy. You can find her. No problem.
Branded.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. This was so much fun. I really appreciate your time too. Thank you. This was awesome.
Our pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on Not Nice, Clever.
Remember to follow our podcast wherever you listen to audio.
And if you found today's episode valuable, please share it with your friends.
No gatekeeping here. Remember, we love to see our clever crew grow.
Signing off, you're not so nice, but oh so clever besties that mean business.
See you soon.